It's a quiet evening in a trailer park in McLeod, Oklahoma. The date is December 21st, 2013, and inside the trailer, 33-year-old Brad Lee is enjoying an ice-cold beer with his stepfather, Denver Lee. Denver reaches for the radio, tuning it to his favourite station, while Brad switches on the TV to listen to the news. They sit back, relaxed and comfortable. One beer goes down, then another, and before long, they've lost count. At this point, any chance of logical thinking has left the room. The TV suddenly grabs the attention of both of them, as the news anchor talks about the recent wars over in foreign countries. As a former Marine, this triggers Brad. He scoffs at the TV in disgust, and just as he's about to crack open another beer, Denver starts laughing uncontrollably, with particles of spit going all over Brad's face. Brad is not impressed, and turns to Denver to face him. He's still laughing, maniacally. To summarise, two men are drunk inside an enclosed space. One is old and one is a Marine. Mr. News Anchor talks about war. Brad gets mad and Denver laughs at him for it. Brad isn't going to let that slide. Brad rises to his feet with aggression all over his face. Denver looks up at Brad and then continues to howl in laughter. For a lack of better words, Brad simply grabs Denver and throws him to the floor before proceeding to give him the most diabolical wedgie of all time, pulling his underwear from his rear all the way over to the front of his face, covering his mouth. After a short struggle, Brad decides he's had enough and stands up, but the room is quiet now. Denver isn't moving, and at that moment, Denver became the first man to ever die via atomic wedgie. Brad ended up pleading guilty to manslaughter and is serving 30 years behind bars. During November of 2015, 19-year-old Cody Caldwell was caught attempting to burgle a house in Huron, California. But before he could be charged, he was already dead. Cody was patrolling the streets of Huron, quietly scanning each house, looking for somewhere to break in. He was desperate for cash and wasn't willing to go home empty-handed.
You've got mail.
After hours of searching, he found his target. A man leaving his house, dressed in a tall top hat and a huge gold watch. This is his chance, he thought. He hid inside the bushes until the coast was clear. 5 minutes later, and Cody was already trying to open the front door, but it was locked. No windows would open, and the back door wouldn't budge. Cody had exhausted all options, except one, the chimney. And so, Cody's genius plan began. He climbed the walls of the house and made his way towards the narrow chimney pipe. He jumped in and started his descent. As he got deeper, it got darker, and very quickly, it became very hard to move. He almost made it to the bottom when he realised he was completely stuck and couldn't go up or down. He panicked and started screaming, but no one could hear him. The next day, the owner of the house returned home. It was freezing, he thought, so he prepped the fireplace and set it alight, not knowing that Cody was still inside his chimney, alive. Cody was inhaling enormous amounts of smoke, as well as being burnt alive. He wriggled and wormed as best he could to escape, but the smoke was too much. The homeowner heard the screams and quickly called the fire department. By the time they arrived, Cody was gone. He died due to asphyxiation and burns, and the homeowner's house never smelt the same again. You and a group of other trainee law students are standing inside the Toronto Dominion Centre in Canada. It's 1993 and you're about to be given a tour by the one and only Gary Hoy. For context, Gary is a well-established corporate lawyer, and for you, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. The building you're inside has 56 stories and is 731 feet tall. You follow him through the building, moving floor by floor. Everywhere you look, people are completely locked in. One man has his face pressed up against his screen. Another is hammering away at his keyboard. And across the room, someone paces back and forth with a phone pressed to each ear. You've reached the 24th floor when suddenly, Gary stops and turns to face the group. A sadistic wide grin spreads across his face as he stares down each student. Then, without context, he gestures towards a large window overlooking the city. Gary believes this window is indestructible. Gary has done this many times before. and Gary wants to prove it to the students, and so he gets into position. Before anyone can question it, he sprints as fast as he can towards a 24-story drop. His entire body slams into the glass at full force, but it didn't break. Gary turns to his crowd, expecting amusement, but everyone is stood there in shock. Unhappy with his performance, he must try again to convince these strangers that the window is truly unbreakable. And so, once again, with a room full of colleagues and strangers, he readies himself and sprints towards the window even faster this time. Just before he reaches the edge, he jumps. He crashes into the window, and to everyone's surprise, the glass didn't break, but the frame did. Gary had jumped into the window so hard that the window frame completely popped off, leaving nothing but a 236-foot drop between Gary and certain death. The students had no time to process what just happened, as from up there, Gary became a speck of red on the side of the road. In the end, Gary was right. The glass didn't break. Hold Your Wii for a Nintendo Wii. A contest held just 2 months after the release of the much sought after console by the radio station The Morning Rave. A group of contestants would drink large quantities of water, and the last to use the bathroom wins a Wii. One of those participating was Jennifer Strange, a mother of 3 who wanted to win the console for her children. The games began. Jennifer annihilates her first liter with ease, then the second goes down even quicker. Light work, she thinks. Then the third, fourth, and fifth. Many contestants began to leave. Some were seen hobbling out, holding their stomachs in pain. Some even began to throw up in extreme discomfort. But this didn't faze Jennifer. She was on a mission. It came down to the final 2, and Jennifer was on her 8th liter when she suddenly felt a pain in her head, a pain she'd never felt before. It felt like her brain was expanding and about to burst out of her skull. She stood up and immediately fell to her knees. The room was spinning. She immediately quit and went home. A couple hours later, and as you can probably guess, she had perished. She died due to acute hyponatremia, which is a fancy way of saying water intoxication. This is because sodium levels in her blood became diluted due to the water overload, causing her brain to swell, leading to organ failure. Her family sued the radio station for $16.5 million and won. And that's the story of how someone dying for a Wii died for a Wii.